Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. It's a pleasure to have you here. Today we're going to be doing something really cool, and I'm going to be showing you how I'm using AI tools to massively accelerate the growth of my real estate investment business. There's just so much stuff that you can use AI for these days that it's really kind of mind-blowing. And if you aren't taking advantage of these tools in the way that I'm going to show you in this video, you are definitely missing out. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. So I want to show you guys how I am leveraging AI this week. So let's see if I can find the right scene, because it can be incredibly helpful. Okay, so now let's switch over. So I use a couple of different AI tools. My favorites are Claude and ChatGPT. So let's start with ChatGPT. How you guys liking this so far, by the way? Again, leave me a comment if you would. That'd be great. So in ChatGPT, which is now in version 5, which is pretty cool, and I have the paid ones, like $20 a month or whatever it is. The first thing I recommend that you do is you create projects. So you can see I have Fly with Trent, Invest with Trent, and so forth. So let's look at Invest with Trent. I want to figure out, what does it look like? If I have a goal that I want to accomplish, what does that look like? How do I do that? And how do I get AI to help me figure that out? So the first thing you do is, when you create a project, is you create a set of instructions. This is so this project is about my journey from someone who's made a single very successful commercial real estate investment as a general partner. I made a number of them as a limited partner, to someone who's acquiring 3 to 4 buildings per year. I'm a solo investor at this point, but over time, the goal is to attract other accredited investors to help me fund my deals. A big part of the business plan is going to be to share my journey on YouTube and how I'm combining the use of AI plus investing in commercial real estate to achieve my goals so that I can attract a large audience of highly engaged followers who will watch my videos and also want to invest in my deals. Now, I'm going to this is what I call kind of a master prompt. And this is a really simple version of a master prompt. Master prompts can get a whole lot more complex. Like, let me just show you. We'll use Claude. Something I was thinking of doing at one point in time was a car club, but I decided against it. It was going to be a really great system for networking and finding other investors, and I like cars. So in Claude, this here is what's called the master prompt, and it talks all about the business that you want to build. And then when you've done that, so if we go and look at Exotic Car Club, you can literally just say, and this is one of the reasons I decided not to go ahead. I prompted it. All I said was, I wanted an AI business plan or AI risk management analysis. But in any case, it did a phenomenal job of giving me an answer to all of the risks that I was going to be exposed to if I undertook that project. And honestly, it was all of these risks that made me think, no, I don't want to do that. So in ChatGPT, near as I can tell, that instead of in the settings section of Claude, and you can change your master prompt from one business to another, and then you can start asking it questions, and it'll always go back to that master prompt. In ChatGPT, I just put that in the instructions as I showed you here. And then I start talking about, I just start prompting it and asking it things. So the first thing that I did was I just said something simple. I want an AI business plan give me an AI business plan that will allow me to earn at least $100,000 either in cash or increased equity over the next 12 months. Like, that seems like a reasonable goal, right? So let's have a look at this prompt. So business model, and this is, the robot, I just call AI the robot. This is the thing that I find so amazing about this stuff is how good it is and how fast it is. And back in the quote unquote old days, how long this would have taken me to do without AI. Anything I would have done would have never been as good as this, because I'm just not that thorough of a guy when it comes to research. It's not my favorite thing to do. So overview, AI-driven commercial real estate deal sourcing plus content monetization. So the goal is to acquire 1 to 2 cash flowing or value-added properties in the $1 to $3 million range within 12 months, funded with partner capital, while monetizing my AI plus real estate journey online. Well, that sounds pretty good. That's a nice goal. I like that. So revenue streams, increased equity from the deals that I source and become a GP in other words, from the buildings that I buy. And I think in the next year, I could buy 2 buildings. And then I've got cash income from all sorts of places, content monetization. I'm going to offer consulting for other business owners. That's my niche, business owners, because there's a lot of ways for them to save tons of money on taxes by investing in real estate. And they won't understand that, and they'll see my content, and some of those people will want to book calls with me, and I'll charge, $1,000 an hour or whatever for those calls, and people will pay because they'll see the ROI. They'll see through my content and through the things that I've done, they'll be like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. And I'm going to pay him $1,000 for an hour of his time because I think I'm going to learn enough to be able to start getting going. And then if I get going over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to make way more than $1,000. And then also AI-powered lead generation services for other investors. So you're going to hear me. I did a LinkedIn post today where I talked about the mindset shift that was needed. As a matter of fact, we can go back and look at that mindset shift because it was this post here. And if your deal pipeline starts and ends with LoopNet, you don't have a deal pipeline. I mentioned this earlier. You have to be a deal hunter. They're not going to come to you. So a big part of being able to do, let's get back to, where's the prompt I was just on? There we go. Then back to the business plan. So a big part of making this happen is that mindset shift. You've got to understand that you're going to have to get out there and hustle. But as a pilot, you're not working 40 hours a week. You're working less. So with discipline, scheduling, and some smart strategies, which you can ask AI to help you do, it's all possible if you want it bad enough. So why does this work for $100,000 profit? And wouldn't you be happy if in the next year you made an extra $100,000 by investing in commercial real estate? That'd be a pretty phenomenal outcome for most people. So AI can shorten the deal finding time. You'll target off-market light industrial, self-storage, and mobile home parks within 4 to 5 hours of Boise, where I live. My equity is going to come from sweat, not cash. So as the GP, I'm going to bring the deal. I'm going to be the guy that knows how to find these deals. I'm going to build the systems. I'm going to do all the networking. And then, because I don't have an unlimited supply of money, the investors are going to bring the money and they're going to get a slice of the equity and that preferred return of the 6 to 8% per year. And I guarantee you, your investors, and you don't have to be a social media whiz to do this. You can do this through word of mouth. And then when they're happy, they're going to reinvest and they're going to tell other people about you. And eventually you're going to get at a point where you have more investors than you have deals. And you can just keep acquiring and acquiring and acquiring. And then in my case, because I'm a content creator and I love to do that, the content that I create is going to build credibility for me like it did in the flying niche. And that's going to build followers. And some of those followers will be accredited investors. And I'll have funnels and lead flow on my website to capture those leads and have those conversations. And some of those people are going to turn into be investors. So here's the AI step-by-step plan. So first of all, we want to build an AI deal sourcing machine. And it says it's going to take 1 to 2 months. And these are the tools that I'm going to use. This is going to be the process. I'm going to identify 10,000 target properties. How am I going to do that? I'm going to ask AI how to do that. Then I'm going to use AI to enrich the data. How am I going to do that? I'm going to ask AI to give me detailed step-by-step instructions on that. And then I'm going to ask the AI to give me step-by-step instructions for number 3. And then I'm going to build a system for number 4. And the goal is 10 qualified off-market leads per month. So these are deals that I'm going to do quick bits of underwriting on to see, does this make sense? Is this worth exploring further? And some of them are, because again, you're not competing in commercial real estate, unlike residential real estate. You're not competing against gazillions of people for a deal, because there's just not that many people buying small deals in the $1 to $3 million range. Like on the building that we bought, there was no other bidder. We were it. And because for the big investors, $1 to $3 million, the deal's not big enough. They don't want to do it. But you can make tons of money. As I mentioned in my video, we made in 2 years, the building went from 1.3 million to 2 million. Yeah, we had some expenses and selling costs and so forth, but still, trust me, it was a pretty handsome profit after those first 2 years. So that's step one. And now step two is lock up 1 to 2 deals with partner capital, and that'll be somewhere in the 3 to 8 month range. So you're going to do this. You're going to take 20 to 35% GP equity for sourcing and for doing the due diligence and for the management. So an example of that on a $2 million light industrial property where you need 25% down to buy it, your GP share is going to be $125,000, and the rest is going to come from your investors. Now, if you don't have $125,000, then you're going to have to figure out something different. You're going to have to figure out how to get more money from investors. And as we did, I recommend that you, or that the AI recommends that because this is for me, focus on value-added plays. So tenant turnover, rent increases, small CapEx improvements. This is exactly what we did on our first deal. And those are the reasons why the deal went up so much in value. Then when you're buying the thing, maybe the seller doesn't want to pay a huge tax bill. Maybe they don't want a 1031 in exchange into another building. So instead of using a bank to finance it, I mean, if the current owners owned it for 20 or 30 years, the thing's probably paid off. You can get them to be the bank. And that can go a long way to creating a deal that, you need minimal down payment. Because depending upon the rapport and relationship you build with that seller, they may be willing to take, a pretty minimal amount of money down. It all comes down to what you can negotiate with the seller. In my case here, I'm going to monetize the journey via content. So if you're not a creator, well, skip that step, but I am a creator. So these are some of the things I want to do. I want to make the channel grow. I want to make sure that I'm doing lots of posts and lots of content every week. Some of the tools that I might use. Now, I have a channel manager that manages my stuff. So I'm personally not using any of that stuff, but I'm sure he does. And then I have to, come up with a subscriber goal. And AdSense, I'm not so worried about because I have lots of other ways to monetize. AdSense is the least important, and it's like, for example, with Fly with Trend, it's the least profitable revenue stream. So, is that an important goal? Not really. But if that was an important goal to you, again, I would ask AI, how do I go from 0 to 10,000 subs? And guess what? It's going to give you a really great action plan. So number 4 can be, this is where the money is if you're a content creator. You're going to offer paid offerings like I do with Fly with Trent. I have CFI referrals. I have training courses on my website. People can put consulting calls with me. And over the last year, that was not an insignificant sum of money, especially given how little work it took me to be able to do that because I had systems for everything. So I could really run the channel in less than 4 hours per week. So the ROI on my time was ridiculous. In the real estate space, I could have masterminds. I could have these consulting calls. I could have training courses. There's all sorts of ways that you can take that audience that you're building. And I recommend everyone build an audience. Now, let's just talk about that for a minute, because some of you who've never built an audience before might be thinking, well, why would I do that? I'm not an expert at investing yet. And the thing is, you don't need to be. Think back to the beginning of Fly with Trent. I wasn't an expert at anything. I put up a video that said, is 53 too old to become an airline pilot? And as luck would have it, a lot of people were asking themselves that question. So that video got a lot of views. And so then I put up my plan. I made this big, bold claim of what I wanted to accomplish. I hadn't accomplished anything, but that video got watched hundreds of thousands of times in the first couple of weeks because thanks to the first video, YouTube had identified the audience that would be interested in that. And people loved that big, bold claim. They were the naysayers, of course, who said I was an idiot, and I proved them all wrong. So I was laughing all the way to the bank on that. And they wanted to see how the story unfolded. So I became the expert over time by sharing the details of the journey, because I sure as heck wasn't an expert in the beginning because I hadn't accomplished the goal yet. But once I'd accomplished the goal of getting there faster than probably anybody in history and spending a lot less money than most people, guess what? They all saw me as the expert. And that's why my training products and I get all that back end monetization, because people want to tap into the knowledge that I accumulated over the 2 years that allowed me to accomplish that goal. And there's affiliate deals and high tip coaching. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that you can do. And then number 5 is exit or refinance for cash. So on at least one of the acquired deals in month 9 to 12, that might be a bit quick, but you're going to complete a value added work and refinance or sell to unlock GP equity. I think 1 year is probably, I'm going to call this a little flaw in the plan. I think 1 year is a little quick. We did it in 2 years. So I'm not saying 1 year is impossible, but here's an example. You buy a $2 million property, you make it worth 2.4 million, and you'd be surprised how little you have to do to be able to do that, because this is all a function of cash flow. So what's that? That's a 20% increase in value. 2 times 2 is 4. Yeah. So you need to increase our cash flow 20%. We did that when all the tenants turned over and we raised rent to market rate. We actually increased our cash flow 30% or 33 or 34%. And that it took a while, because it took a while for the tenants to turn over, but nonetheless, we were able to accomplish it. So then you get another 70% LTV loan and you refi it. And now you have a $1.68 million loan. And if the old loan plus costs equal 1.4 million, you just unlocked $280,000 in equity, and your share as the GP is you made $70,000 in cash. Now you got a check for $70,000 after a year or two. In this case, the plan is designed to be for 1 year. Well, that's not an insignificant sum of money for a lot of people. So 12-month financial target, GP equity in 1 to 2 properties, coaching, YouTube AdSense affiliate, and there's the total earnings potential, 105 to 210. So what do the key success factors look like? Speed to the first deal, consistency in content, and automation and delegation. So now let's say, you know what? I want to break this down a bit. I want to ask the robot so I work in a 12-week sprint cycle. I treat each 12 weeks like it is a year. And so there's actually a book out there called The 12-Week Year. And I would encourage you. And you got to be really organized and really disciplined with your time. Now, to do this, I have what's called a finisher's journal. It's actually a paper book. And it basically allows you to break down your business into 12-week periods of time. So why is that important versus the year? Well, a lot of times when you have a 1-year plan, you get complacent and you get lazy because you're like, well, I'm behind in the first quarter, but I'll make it up in the second quarter. And then in the second quarter, you're even further behind, but you're like, oh, I'll make it up in the third quarter. Third quarter, you're even further behind, and you say, oh, I'll make it up in the fourth quarter. And then you got to work your tail off in the fourth quarter to make your numbers. So I don't like that approach. I want to make sure that I make my numbers in the first 12 weeks for whatever it is that I need to accomplish in the 12 weeks. So I work in a 12-week sprint cycle. Give me the detailed action plan for the first 12 weeks. Ideally, I would like to have my first building at least under contract, not closed. I don't own it yet, but under contract. So let's see what that looks like and watch the power of AI. This is so cool. Yep, that's what I want. So here we go. 12-week sprint, AI powered. Have your first building under contract. So this is what I need to do. I need to find a list of 2,500 properties. AI will help me do that. I need to develop a system where I reach out to 500 of those owners. Totally doable. AI will instruct me on doing that, and I'll make that happen. I need to talk to, in person, ideally, at least 15 of those owners. I need to submit 3 LOIs, which is letter of intent, And out of those 3 LOIs, ideally I get a property under contract. So that's the main KPIs that we would be judged by, or that I would be judged by over the first 12 weeks. So phase 1, weeks 1 to 3, build the machine. So asset targeting and market mapping. So we're going to define a buy box. We're going to pull target property list from all these different places. We're going to use ChatGPT to generate personalized outreach templates. We're going to, for the deliverables, we want a spreadsheet of 1,000 properties that fit in my buy box. And then I'm going to have an outreach script. And all of that stuff is doable. There's nothing there that's really that hard to do. And especially if you don't know how to do it, you just ask AI for more details on how you do that. Week number 2. So like you could accomplish that in a week. If you want this stuff bad enough and you are willing, like even if you're employed full time, maybe it takes you 2 weeks to do that. But at least you know what you need to accomplish, which is the key. You've got to have clearly defined action steps. In my case, I do this full time because I'm not flying right now because I'm grounded. So aside from making YouTube videos, this is going to be where all my time and focus goes. So number 2, data enrichment and CRM setup. I actually just signed up for some software last night called Go High Level. It's going to run the whole back-end system. It's where going to be my database of sellers. It's going to be my database of people who are in my funnels for, wanting coaching calls and whatever. It's like business in a box. It's an amazing piece of software. So I don't need Pipedrive. I don't need Close. All of this is going to happen in something called Go High Level, which is like $100 a month. And then I'm going to use automate personal subject lines and first line for cold emails. Honestly, make phone calls. I'll probably just be making phone calls because how hard is it to call a seller and say, hey, I'm interested in buying your building. I don't need a lot of information. I'm not going to make a lowball offer. Do you have any interest in starting a conversation about potentially selling? You talk to enough building owners, some of them are going to say yes, because some of them are at a point in their life where like the guy who owned the building that I bought, he's older. He didn't want to run it anymore. He didn't want to fix it. He didn't want to improve it. He didn't want to do anything, but he loved the idea of getting a big check. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. So deliverables, 1,000 properties enriched, at least 500 with contact info. Again, you can get AI to show you exactly how to do that. And then you just follow this flow here. Great. Cool. That's week 2. Week 3, outreach automation launch. So I'm going to put all those contacts that I've enriched into Go High Level. I'm going to create an email campaign. That campaign will also have phone call follow-up steps. I'm going to start using I use LinkedIn a lot. I make a lot of posts on LinkedIn. That's going to generate inbound leads at some point in time. And I don't know if it's going to generate leads from sellers, but these sellers that I've identified, a lot of them are going to be on LinkedIn. And so I can use AI to write them personalized messages. I can have it delivered by software, or I can just have my virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines and I pay her like $6 an hour. She could literally do all of this manually for me. Another mindset shift. You don't have to do all this stuff yourself. The important thing is building the systems that allow other people to do the legwork for you. And for example, I could tell you a story about how I did that. Years ago, I had a business on Amazon where we were a reseller of existing products made by other companies. And we identified, so we had a way, I built systems to figure out who these companies are, to figure out which of their products should be selling better, then to figure out who in that company we needed to talk to, then to reach out to the person at that company in the attempt to book an appointment so that we could make our pitch about becoming a reseller for their product. All of that legwork was done by VAs following the systems that I built. We were sending, initially it was like 100 emails a week. Then we were up to 500 emails a week as things got more competitive. None of that was my time. My time was building the systems. And all a system is a detailed set of written instructions. And this is what my software company Flowster is ideal for. And then you literally just bolt people in and say, follow the checklist. And the instructions are so detailed because you've figured out, you've done it manually once yourself. So you know what to do. The instructions are so detailed that there's really no training time. You just literally say, here's the instructions, follow them. So you're going to do LinkedIn connection requests, and this is the goal, 200 to 300 emails a week, 50 LinkedIn connections initiated, and then you're going to track everything in your CRM. So your VA you're going to do number 3, but if you want to employ somebody, and by the way, if you've never thought of hiring a VA before, this is not new. I mean, tons and tons and tons of people do this. And so the girl that I've had VAs for years, this particular one, her name is Des. She's worked with us now for like 7 or 8 years. I'm pretty sure she's $6 or maybe $7 an hour. And she's college educated, speaks perfect English. When we need other VAs, she hires them. Like, she is amazingly good at her job, and I'm paying her $6 an hour. If you what you need to do is understand the value of your time. As the leader, you should not be doing $6 an hour labor. You should be sending that to somebody else. Your job, and my job in this case, is to build these systems so that other people or automation can do the work for me. And all of these things that I build for myself are all going to be made available to my audience, and that will generate more revenue for me, because I'll say, look, do you really want to go figure out how to build an automated deal flow system, or would you just like a copy of mine? What do you think most people are going to say? They're going to say, well, gosh, I'd like a copy of yours. I actually did that when I had my Amazon business. I was on stage. I got invited to speak at this event because my business was so successful. I did not have a product for sale. I was up on stage. I was explaining in great detail for like an hour and a half on how to do all this stuff and how I had VAs do it all and how I developed all these workflows and SOPs. And when I got off stage, I got mobbed by people. Literally just like everyone saying, can I buy a copy? Can I buy a copy? And so we turned it into a product. And over the next 2 years, we sold $2.5 million worth of that digital product. So the guy that organized the conference, he took half the money and I took half the money. So it was incredibly profitable to turn my intellectual property into something that could be sold to other people. And so I'm going to do exactly that. I call it a playbook. It's just a set of highly detailed documentation, system, software, and so forth to allow other people to not have to recreate the wheel, because they understand that in the case of my other product, it was $2,500, that it was a way better deal to spend $2,500 to get a turnkey system than it ever was to go and try and figure it out on their own and spend weeks or possibly months doing that. So now in week number 4, we've got first owner conversations, call or Zoom. So that's a great way to screen people in the beginning. AI tasks, use ChatGPT to generate deal analysis checklists for each asset type. Start rough underwriting, and there's some tools that you can use to do that if you don't have your own spreadsheet. So I'll be checking out those tools because I've never heard of either one of them. And here's our deliverables: 5+ owner conversations in week 4. And then 2 properties worth a deeper underwriting in week 4. That's what I've got to get done. And then we've got week 5, LOI framework and investor warm-up. Build an LOI template. AI will write it for me. Begin a weekly investor update email. I already do that. I already have an email list, and I'm building more people onto that list every single day. Create investor intake forms. Those will be on my website. They don't have to be in this case, I'll just use Go High Level to be able to do that. So the deliverables for week number 5 is have my LOI template ready, which AI will write for me in all of 5 minutes. And then 10+ investors warmed up calls. So again, totally doable. Week 6, first LOI is out. Target properties where you've spoken with the owner, and rough underwriting says, hey, this deal has some potential. So now we're going to pick the best of those deals and we're going to issue some LOIs. LOIs are not a contract to buy a building. They are simply a statement of your intent of what you want to do. And when the seller looks at the LOI, if it's to their liking, then they can sign it and you can sign it. And then you can turn it into a contract. You just give it to an attorney or AI and say, turn this into a legal contract. And now you've got a binding contract for purchase and sale. And now you have that building under contract. And then you're going to do your due diligence over a 30 or 60 day period. And there's a whole process for due diligence, which again will be spelled out in more SOPs and workflows, so that by the time you get to the closing table, you understand everything that you could possibly understand as a new buyer. And then you're going to close. Use ChatGPT to prepare a property pitch deck for investors once the LOI is accepted. So if you need to work with investors, that's what I'm going to do there. And so deliverables are 2 LOIs and an investor list of 15 to 20 names. I mean, if you don't know in your town, if you can't develop an investor list of 15 to 20 names, you're just not working hard enough, because it's not that hard to do. You go out and you just talk to people. You have coffees with people. You say, this is what I'm working on. This is what these deals look like. This is what the rate of returns look like. This is what the timeline is going to look like. Does that fit with something that you would put $50,000 or $100,000 into? And people are going to say yes because people love to invest in real estate. And they especially like to do it on a passive basis where if you got doctors, lawyers, high income earners, they don't have any free time, they don't have knowledge. They're going to say yes, and they're going to be way less sophisticated than you are. So when you're doing all this stuff, if you do a good job, you're going to look like a freaking expert. So week 7, follow-ups and more LOIs. So re-engage all my warm leads, send 2 more LOIs if possible, keep my weekly newsletter going. And so now we got deliverables of 4 LOIs and 1 serious negotiation in play. Week number 8, due diligence prep. So we're going to line up a third-party inspector, an environmental report, and an appraiser. So you're going to have to spend, when you're in due diligence, expect to spend some money. But the thing is, you're not going to go into due diligence unless you've already underwritten the deal. Underwriting is just a fancy way of saying, what do the numbers look like? And so you've already got your LOI accepted. You've already done your underwriting. The seller is going to be agreeable to the terms that you've outlined in your LOI. So at that point in time, it's worth spending. It's worth putting some cash on the line. And this is not tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know. I don't know how much this was cost, but I would ask AI how much it's going to cost, and it'll give me a pretty good idea. And then you're going to put together, I'm going to put together a data room for the investors that I'm talking to. And so there's my deliverables. And then week number 9, negotiate PSA terms. That's purchase and sale agreement. So now when you go into due diligence, you're going to find stuff. You're going to find stuff that's wrong. You're going to find deferred maintenance. You're going to find stuff that makes you want to pay less for that building, more likely. So that's when the negotiation starts happening with the seller. You're going to be like, well, hey, man, your roof shot or the fire suppression system is garbage and it's going to cost $50,000 to fix. I need you to take $50,000 off the price. And more than likely, the seller of the building is going to be like, well, that's kind of realistic. I knew the fire suppression system was on its way out. And so it's not an unreal ask. Okay, so I'm going to give you a concession in the amount of the money that it's going to take to fix the fire suppression system because I didn't tell you it was kind of on its last legs anyway. So this is normal stuff. This happens all the time. So your draft is going to go back and forth between your lawyers and their lawyers. You're going to get your investor capital commitments verbalized. And then week 10, you got to lock in the money. So you're going to host a webinar. You're going to talk either, webinar to talk to everybody at one time, or you're just going to have more coffees with people with your pitch deck and you're going to walk them through it. And then you're going to get soft commits. You're going to get people to say, yeah, I've got the money. This is a deal for me. And then you're going to be able to get to a point where you've got soft commits for enough of the money. Now, if you don't get there and you can't close, well, guess what? Then you just can't close. And what you've lost is any money that you spent up here, on possible attorneys, third-party inspectors, environmental reports. So some capital is going to be at risk, but no risk, no reward. Week number 11, final due diligence and PSA execution. So you're going to walk the property with your inspector. You're going to review the leases and confirm rent roll. You're going to resolve final, or this is all the stuff I got to get done. And now due diligence is underway. Week number 12, we've got it under contract. We're starting the closing checklist. And this is where your brokers are going to really be incredibly helpful because they've done this a whole bunch of times. So you don't really have to figure all this stuff out on your own. Because in all likelihood, there's going to be a broker involved in the deal. So your deal's under contract and you've got a closing date set. And after that, you close. So what makes this achievable in 12 weeks? Parallel tracks. You're building your investor base while sourcing deals. No waiting for one to finish before starting another. You can do it at the same time. The leveraging AI is going to save me boatloads of time. And you're not waiting for the perfect deal. You're going to submit offers, multiple offers to increase your odds. So that's pretty cool. That's a really great action plan, don't you think? And if you thought that was good, leave me a comment in the comment section, please. If you want, I can design your 1 to 3 week AI stack and exact workflows. So by the end of week 3, you've contacted 500 owners without a manual slog. Well, that sounds like a good deal. So let's just say, yes, I want that. Thank you very much. Let's see what that looks like. So there it is, just that quick as you can type it in. The AI stack, data sourcing, backup, data enrichment, outreach copy, automation and sending, CRM tracking, like it's all right there. Workflow by week, build the target list. There's the buy box. So asset, light industrial self-storage, price 1 to 3 million, location 4 to 5 hours of Boise, size 10 to 30,000 square feet, self-storage 150 to 500 units, mobile home parks 30 to 120 pads. This is really what a buy box is, by the way. And so when you go talk to a broker, this is the number one mistake people make when they go talk to a broker. Hey, broker, I want to make an investment in commercial real estate. What do you want to buy? Oh, anything where the numbers make sense. They are never going to call you because you have no idea what you want to buy. But if you say, here's my buy box, if it fits in this, I'm going to be super interested. And you follow up with them every single week via a phone call or an email or a coffee to say, hey, have you had anything come into my buy box? You're going to remain top of mind for those brokers. And over time, you're going to build that relationship as a buyer they can trust. So we've got week number 2, and then we've got week number 3, launch, scale, and outreach. And then we got end of 3-week deliverables. So there's really no limit to how you can use AI to really help you knock it out of the park and get really refined on what you need to do. And then all you need to do is execute. Now, if you're not willing to execute, you're not willing to allocate your time, well, then, there's no help for you. But if you want this bad enough, this is something that you could do and eventually replace your job and then not have to have one. Like, I haven't had a job other than the brief stint as an airline pilot until I got my cancer diagnosis. I haven't had a job in 30 years because I do this stuff. I'm willing to hustle, and my life is way better for it because I don't have a boss I have to report to. I don't have a schedule that I have to report to. Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to allow you guys to really just watch over my shoulder as I build this. And the hopes is, just like flying, that I inspire you, that I educate you to be able to watch me do it, replicate what I'm doing, and do it on your own. And if you need help, if you need guidance, you need consulting, there'll be ways that you can hire me to do that. I'll have products for sale. I'll have probably masterminds or cohorts and consulting calls. So you won't be on your own, and we'll get it done together, because I guarantee you over the next year, I'm going to buy a building or maybe 2, because all I'm going to do is follow the plans that I've shared with you. I'm just going to execute. And that's one of my talents, is when I make a plan, I'm good at following through on it. Thank you so much, guys, for those of you who are in the pilot niche who've done such an incredible job of supporting me in the Fly with Trent channel over the last couple of years. It's been truly transformational. And for those of you who are just joining me for the real estate journey, well, you're in for some fun, because I love this stuff. And this is going to be my huge focus, in addition to keeping the Fly with Trent channel going, of course, because that doesn't take me more than a half day per week. And all of the rest of my time is going to be put into building this real estate business. Anyway, there's going to be weekly live streams. There's going to be videos. There's going to be the email newsletter. If you're not yet on the Invest with Trent email newsletter, I highly recommend you go to investwithtrent.com and just put in your name and your email address. And that way you won't miss anything. And also, please do subscribe to the channel. If you could all just go to the investwithtrent.com website. There's a YouTube icon up in the header. Click it. It'll take you to the channel. And your big thanks for me today is just click and become a subscriber, because more subscribers is much better. It helps the channel to grow. It increases credibility. And that is just like a snowball effect. So you guys rock. I hope you had fun, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.